Study Tips for Examinations by Daniel Chuunga, PhD. Today, many people are engaged in studying in order to advance themselves academically. In past days, people would engage in witchcraft rituals in order to attain a certain position. But today, it is all about improving oneself academically. Academic education has potential to grant you a job. Furthermore, education has the potential to change your status quo at your workplace. In this booklet, we shall share tips with those in examination classes on how they can get the best out of studying. Studying is not about opening a book and perusing through. It is rather an art that you can learn. In this book, the author tries his best to offload tips that can help all those in examination classes, beginning with those at primary to tertiary level. The Bible says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." 2 Timothy 2 verse 15. Part 1. How to study for examinations. Studying is an art. It is beyond sitting behind a desk and going through notes. Rather, it is about understanding and assimilation of what you are reading. I have noticed that when the examinations are nearing, many pupils and students go into a panic mode. Some are so overwhelmed with pressure that within 30 minutes they try to study 3 different subjects. Some spend sleepless nights, some go fasting because of the pressure to study, while some have their emotions raised because they are tensed up with work. Once upon a time, one colleague, a theology student, was overwhelmed with a Hebrew examination that he ended up having high blood pressure, which culminated into a cerebrovascular accident, severe, in layman's language, a stroke. In order to handle examinations smartly, try these tips. Know your energy level. Human beings are unique in many ways. When it comes to study habits, one needs to know his or her energy levels. Some study well in the early hours of the day, while others study well at night, and some do well during the course of the day. It is critically important for learners to understand their energy levels so that they capitalize on such times to study hard. Templar advises, you need to bring plenty of energy to what you do at work, and it's your job to make sure that energy is there when it's needed. What time of the day do you work best? We're all different, and you may not have total control over your working day, but you can make sure those tasks that need concentration get allocated to times when you're best able to concentrate. Templar P, page 26. The tendency of students imitating their peers in study habits is not the best. One has to understand when it is convenient to immerse in studies. As you study for examinations, capitalize on morning hours. Capitalize on early morning hours. It has proven helpful for students to wake up early in the morning to study. In Zambia, boarding schools that allow students to have their study preparations early in the morning have scored good pass rate for their pupils. Probably the fact is that early morning hours have few disruptions. Early morning hours have few disturbances, and the mind is still fresh and not worried with the tasks of the day. Sharma testifies, there is something very special about the first few hours of the morning. Sharma, page 44. This therefore entails that the student must go to bed very early so as to create enough rest. Furthermore, you need to cherish a habit of studying in one place. Study in one place. The brain is made in such a manner that when you study in one place, it has the potential to remind you of what you have faithfully studied. As you visualize your notes from the usual spot where you study, it is likely that the mind can bring to memory some concepts. Studying in one place requires discipline. The mind can be so conditioned that when you are in a place where you study from, you just tune yourself to studies and nothing else. It is a good habit to train yourself to study in one place. As you prepare for examinations, endeavor to create a good environment where to study from. Study in a good environment. If you are to get the best out of studies, study in a clean and good environment. Ensure that the surrounding is good for your studies. If you are surrounded by holes, pockets of cement, boxes, ashes, axes, rotten vegetables, etc., it will clog your mind. Create a smart environment where you have free space and clean, fresh air. That way, your perception will be clear and healthy. You also need a good study table and a chair. You need a good study table and a chair. There are many postures you can use when studying. Some study while in bed and others enjoy studying while seated on a chair. You do not need to cramp your abdomen. You need a place where you sit upright without causing a strain on your internal organs. Get a comfortable chair in the desk. As you study, it should give you an opportunity to write notes. Another key point to note when studying for examinations is that you must study one subject at a time. Study one subject at a time. Sometimes students go into a panic mode in which they want to study 4 subjects within an hour. The best is to study one subject at a time. The student should concentrate on a particular subject as though it is the only examination subject they are to handle. The student should ignore all other subjects and put all focus on that one subject. Some, out of panic, would get a book on mathematics and within few minutes switch to biology and barely an hour later study geography. Studying requires discipline of the mind. Put all your attention on one subject. After exhausting your materials, give yourself adequate rest and time before you study another subject. Most successful students consult fellow learners on a subject or topic they did not understand. Consult fellow learners. There are times when learners fail to understand some concepts as taught by the teachers or lecturers. The best way out of it is to consult fellow learners. Sometimes, fellow learners can share a lesson in a simpler and more understandable manner than teachers or lecturers. One does not lose anything by consulting fellow learners. A learner who feels that consulting a peer on a topic not well comprehended during class time is likely to fail. There are some learners who have sharp minds and can easily explain certain topics to others in a relaxed manner. Sometimes, some learners feel embarrassed to ask in a group setting. It is helpful to consult the teacher privately or fellow learners in order to grasp a concept. A student who wants to achieve more in studies needs to eat moderately. Avoid overeating before study time. Someone once said that many people are digging their graves with their own teeth. This is because of feeding habits. Another said, the longer you belt, the shorter your life. It is good to eat biblically approved food as set in Leviticus chapter 11. When it comes to food intake, one needs to avoid overeating and eating between meals. One should allow at least 6 hours to elapse before taking another meal. That way, the stomach is given rest. When a student is busy eating all the time, it simply means that the stomach is also at work all the time in terms of digestion. This also implies that late and heavy suppers should be avoided. Late and heavy meals in the night do not give rest to the stomach and the brain. Food is good for the body. However, some overeat to the point that the mind gets clogged when the stomach is loaded with food. A clogged mind is as a result of a loaded stomach. A clogged mind cannot comprehend concepts easily. A student who is studying for examinations should eat moderately and healthily. Restraint in food intake is important when one is engaged with studies. Not only that, it is advisable to take a lot of water. Drink plain water. Water plays the following functions in our bodies. 1. Regulates body temperature. 2. Transports nutrients and oxygen around the body. 3. Removes waste from the body. 4. Moistens body tissues. 5. Cushions joints. 6. Keeps blood flowing. And 7. Softens too in order to prevent constipation. It is vital that one studying for examinations should drink water freely. Of course, you need to drink water at least 30 minutes before and after meals. Water has to be absorbed before the digestion of food. And if you take food and water at the same time, the body will first absorb the water and then digestion takes place. In this case, it even causes irritation to the stomach because it is overburdened. Some take caffeinated beverages which tires the brain. Plain water will keep the student vibrant. Avoid caffeinated drinks and sugar. Caffeinated drinks cause palpitation of the heart. Plain and clean water will do good to the body. As you study, remove tight clothes. Avoid tight clothing. Tight dressing constricts blood flow. Tight clothing should be avoided because they will restrict the flow of blood to the entire body. Socks, trousers, skirts, dresses, underpants, and other clothing should fit well on the body so that they do not cause discomfort to one who is studying. Depending on the weather, you may not wear shoes, but instead use slippers. Another critical element needed in studying is to exercise the body. Exercise. Exercises keep the body fit. It allows the blood flow to all parts of the body and also relieves fatigue. Those studying should create time to walk, jog, play netball or football, or engage in any other activity that can make one sweat and keep the body fit. Exercises keep the brain alert and fit. Time spent on exercises, regardless of the schedule for examinations, is time well spent. This leads us to another area of study: taking breaks when studying. Take some breaks. Those studying should create some breaks during the course of study. It's a good idea to concentrate for 30 minutes when studying and then take a walk and come back to concentrate on the studies. Breaks remove stress and fatigue as you study. You do so to refresh your mind. Studying requires a refreshed and orderly mind. For this reason, the student should put away distractors. Remove distractors. Studying requires putting all the attention to one thing. Anything that takes away attention of one studying should be removed. These include distractors such as phone, internet, WhatsApp, messages, televisions, music in the earphones, etc. Those studying should put away things that can draw attention from the core of the business. In order to comprehend concepts, the student needs to use mnemonic devices. Use mnemonic devices. The student should associate and relate some studies to other concepts. For example, when studying planets, the student may use ideas like, "My very earnest mother just served us 9 potatoes," each first letter standing in for planets. M. Mars, V. Venus, E. Earth, M. Mercury, J. Jupiter, S. Saturn, U. Uranus, N. Neptune, P. Pluto. Another example is that of New Start, each letter standing for N. Nutrition, E. Exercise, W. Water, S. Sunshine, T. Temperance, A. Air, R. Rest, T. Trust in God. The student should use mnemonic devices to assist in memorizing concepts. In order to get the best out of studies, one must anticipate questions. Anticipate questions. It is a good idea for one writing an examination to anticipate questions. The one studying should ask themselves questions like, "Suppose this question came in the examination. How can I tackle it?" As you study, ask yourself the questions and answer them. This assists in grasping the lessons than just reading through notes. Since studies require total attention, unkempt hair can be a bother. Attend to the hair. Hair can be a nuisance if not handled. Many female folks keep scratching their hair, and this can take their time in studying and even during the examination itself. The best is to wash the hair so that it does not disturb by frequent scratching. Some go for hairstyles that fall on their faces and eyes, therefore distracting attention. It is advised to tie your hair so that it doesn't cover your face. You can also do well to shave the pubic hair if it will compel you to scratching all the time. It is better to do your part in studying before entering the examination room. Part 2. In the examination room. Games are won in the mind first and then on the pitch. Examination time is critical. There are some who put the best in studying for the examination but mess up in the examination room. Inasmuch as one has studied, it is another thing managing an examination. Here are tips that can assist those writing exams to handle the examination in a manner that yields the best results. Go early in the examination room. It is important to go early to the examination room. You need to get there on time and settle down. Sometimes, when you arrive late at the examination center, you try to check for your desk, and in the process, you can get frustrated and disoriented. This can work against you during the examination. Get to the examination point at least 30 minutes before the time so that you acclimatize to the environment. If you are writing an examination via internet, it is vital to test the internet system way before the required time for examination. Be in an environment where network is constantly available for the internet. Apart from going early for the examination, it is important to take necessary tools. Take necessary tools. As you go to the examination room, remember to carry necessary tools like pencil, pen, and a good calculator, among others required by the examiners. If you have a pen that is malfunctioning, it will set you off balance. Anything that creates fear, stress, or anxiety in the examination room should be avoided, including intake of too much liquids. Avoid liquids. As you go for the examination, avoid taking too much liquids, which can make you visit the toilet frequently. Of course, you need water to hydrate your body when thinking levels are high and the blood pressure is high. However, you just need enough to cool you down depending on the weather patterns. Taking too much liquids may entail leaving the examination room to go to the toilet frequently. Time spent at the toilet will not be replaced during examinations. You will do well to avoid any unnecessary inconvenience during the examinations. Relaxation is critical during the examinations. Relax. When the body is faced with any danger that threatens life, or when one faces an unfriendly situation, adrenaline increases in the body system. This may cause some to be disoriented during examination period. As such, one needs to relax before sitting for an examination. Avoid panic. Cool down and just focus on the time to commence the examinations. Panicking can take away confidence for the examinations. Avoid straining your mind to anticipated questions during the examinations. Sometimes learners panic over a topic they did not prepare adequately for. As such, they begin to worry if a particular question they did not study may appear in the examination paper. Such fears just erode confidence. Calm down and relax as you prepare to meet the examination. After all, even if you panic, the examination is already set. Just be ready for a good fight. Inasmuch as you have studied adequately, following instructions is a basic and most important rule in passing an examination. Follow instructions. An examination is a game of rules. Passing an examination is based on following instructions. 1 year or more preparation for the final examinations can be work in futility if you fail to follow the required examination instructions. A student should not be overexcited to the point where rules are not followed. Sometimes, when the examination is easy, students tend to be excited and ignore rules. One student almost collapsed in shock after learning that Part B of the examination had 3 questions and only 1 needed to be answered out of the 3. Unfortunately, he had answered all the 3 questions. Instructions during the examinations are actually part of the examinations. It can be concluded that reading the instructions carefully and understanding them is a prerequisite to successful completion of the examination. Another area required in the examination room is to have an overview of the entire examination. Have an overview. It is a good idea once the examination commences to scan through the examination paper. Have a quick overview of the entire examination so that you have a feel of it. An overview will also create an opportunity to budget your time. Having an overview of the examination assists in assessing the nature and weight of the examination. Furthermore, an overview will assist the student know how marks are apportioned to the questions. It is therefore critically important for the examined to have a full picture of the examination and then focus more time on questions that carry more marks. Some just jump to begin answering questions without a true picture of the entire question. When you have an overview of the entire examination, it assists in spending time on questions that really carry more marks. An overview of an examination will also assist you to know hard questions and then allows you to start brainstorming as you answer the easier questions. Answer the easier questions first. After having an overview of the questions, go straight and answer the easier questions. By beginning to answer easier questions, it affords an opportunity for your mind to settle down and reflect on the hard ones. As you settle down in the middle of an examination, there is a way the mind just cools down. It is like a plane when taking off from the ground. All passengers are under panic mode until the plane stabilizes in the air and passengers are now free to move up and down. As you handle the easier questions, it gives you an opportunity to think of hard questions too. As you answer the easier questions, don't forget to revert back to the hard ones. Additionally, don't take too much time on simpler questions. This might disadvantage you when it comes to answering harder questions. When writing an examination, it is a good idea to have working papers. Have working papers. Working papers are used to write some answers in an examination. As you handle easier questions, the mind may bring to your remembrance what you have faithfully studied. In this case, write your answers on the rough paper so that you do not forget them during the examination period. Additionally, the working papers assist you in putting your essay in an organized manner. You can actually outline your essay on the piece of paper so that when you begin to write, ideas can be put in some logical sequence. So, the purpose of working papers can be summarized as follows. 1. To write answers as they come to your memory during the examinations. 2. To organize your essay in a logical sequence. 3. Create an avenue of writing answers ahead of time before putting answers on the official answer sheet. Working papers are an essential tool when writing an examination. In the event the student is behind schedule and there are a few minutes remaining before the examination, the working papers will keep the student focused because a plan has already been hatched on the working papers. The other secret in passing an examination is to spend more time on questions that carry more marks. Spend more time on questions with more marks. One of the principles of business management is spending more money on goods and services that bring about good returns. In farming, it is a good idea to spend more time and money on crops that bring good yield. This same principle applies when it comes to writing an examination. The student who spends more time on questions that carry more marks and equates questions to the time of the examination is likely to make a good grade. Equate questions to time. It is part of an examination tactic for examiners to test the ability of students in managing time So, every examination requires speed and accuracy. A wise student will ensure that the examination paper is weighed against the time allotted for the examination. The student should be able to manage the questions within the stipulated time frame. The student should have a wristwatch or clock that matches with the examiner's time. In the event you do not have a medium of checking time, pay attention to the announcement on time by the invigilator. As a matter of fact, there are some questions in an examination that are sweet to answer. The temptation is so high that you may spend more time on the easier questions at the expense of the entire examination. Attempt hard questions. Sometimes one just gets blank in an examination. You literally have no idea about the question. Instead of just giving up on the question, attempt to address the hard question. You may not know that in the process of guesswork, you may secure yourself some few points. For this reason, never give up on any question in an examination. Give a try for every question and keep your pace without any undue pressure. Keep your pace. I have sat for examinations several times in my academic pursuit. There are some individuals who are so fast in writing examinations that you even feel dull or too slow. When you are halfway the examinations, someone is handing in his answer sheet to the examiner. One of the two things could be true. Either you are dull or slow, but wait a minute. These two are mere assumptions. Each person is unique. Each person should move at his or her own speed. Some people may be having a running stomach or they are blank in their minds. That is why they could finish writing their examination so fast. However, some students are generally brilliant and they don't waste time thinking. Regardless of all the above reasons, you just have to move at your own pace. You are different and do not be moved or intimidated by people who finish writing their examinations earlier than expected. Rather, keep your pace. Another key component in writing examinations is to review your answers after writing the paper. Review your answers. In your allotment of time, reserve some minutes to review your answers. When you have concluded writing the examination, create a few minutes to go through what you have written. In so doing, you might find some errors and then correct them. Sometimes better answers may flash to your mind and it gives you a chance to correct them. Sometimes you may find out that you unintentionally omitted a question. Leave reasonable time to review your answers. In addition to reviewing your answers, it is crucial that a student must have adequate sleep a day before the examination. Have adequate sleep. Have adequate sleep a day before the examinations. There are times when students overload themselves with too much information. They want to study past midnight or because they are writing an exam. Some students end up having tired minds on the day of the execution. It is important for those writing examinations to have enough sleep a day before the examinations. No one will ever be ready for an examination. Just do your part faithfully and do not deprive yourself of sound sleep before the examination. You are better off going to bed at 21 hours and wake up the following day much earlier. In other words, give your body much rest a day before the examinations. Above all, ask God for wisdom. Pray for wisdom. Wisdom comes from God. The Bible assures, If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. James chapter 1 verse 5. For God to answer your prayers, you need to do your part faithfully, because He is the only one able to remind you what you have faithfully studied. Of course, you cannot draw water from an empty well. For God to answer your prayers, you need to do your part. Conclusion. An examination is made easier when learners put up quality time in their studies. The principle of heaven is true. The Bible advises, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Galatians 6 verse 7. We can only reap what we have sowed in an examination. Remember, there is always a reward for those who put up their best in studies. Prayer is never to be used in place of hard work. Prayer is not a cover-up for indolence. We have to do our best, and God would do the rest.